And we are live. We were really silent during that thing because we know that you could hear us. We need to figure out how to add sound or add music to that video clip. I think it would be better than just having people sit in
Whisper.
silence, sit in silence while the timer is counting down. Okay, well, welcome. It's been a week since the last time we spoke. Well, actually, 2 weeks since last time we spoke because we had like the you had public holiday.
Yes, we had a public
last week.
holiday.
Yeah. So hello and welcome to another edition of not Bean Streaming, DevBeardOps, where this gentleman here and myself are both bald and bearded, and we get to talk about automation, the cloud, DevOps, and all the fun things in technology in general. The beard is optional. It's the beard on the inside that counts, by the way, so do not be dissuaded by the fact that you don't have a beard. So before we get into today, Kubis, tell us who you are.
So my name is Kubis Bernard, and I'm a developer advocate for AWS based out of Cape Town in South Africa. And basically my background is in software dev, a bit of mobile dev, and automating all the things and helping folks move their systems onto the cloud, specifically AWS.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm similar to what he says. Basically, I am based in Berlin, Germany. I'm originally from Serbia. I'm a developer advocate. I get to yell at the camera for a long time now. I have a very similar background. I used to be the thing they used to call, I'm not sure if they call it still yet like that, but I used to be called a system administrator. Is it still a thing? Like I have not seen a job posting for system administrators for a long time now. That doesn't it's not a thing.
They tend to not advertise them as that anymore. They tend to just go and advertise for DevOps engineers, because basically DevOps engineer in the current market, at least for South Africa, means a sysadmin that can do cloud automation as well. Usually. So
Okay. Before we start, chat. Let us know if our audio is okay. We want to make sure that you can hear us properly. Yes. And tell us, are you or do you know a system administrator still? When I was young, my dream job was to be a system administrator. It's like it was the job for me. But actually, there's something that predates system administrators. I believe they're called sysops. Right? It's like sysops. Is that a thing? I know that if you set up a BBS system, a bulletin board system, for all of you young people out there, the main person is called a sysop, right? Yeah. So, but yeah.
Wow. No.
And do you remember? Do you remember webmasters? Webmasters, right? That was
No. It's dial-up modems. Having to compete at home for the phone line, but yeah. Let us kick us off today. What are we doing today, Darko? Tell us.
The thing that says underneath my face, it's called
runner.
Something called
Are you
app.
a runner?
Yes, I'm a runner. You're at AWS, and we have app between us. So today we're going to be talking about AWS App Runner, which is one of the 17 ways you can run and host containers on top of AWS. And I know it's a bad joke, but it is something that we do a lot.
Not a joke, eh?
It's not a joke. It's true, right? 17 ways to run containers on top of AWS.
Get it. Here we go. Corey Quinn did a blog post on this. I will share in the chat for the folks. Yeah, it's actually quite interesting to read. So there's a link to his blog post for all the ways.
There's plenty of ways to run your container-based workloads on top of AWS, and today we're going to be talking about one of them, right? So ASDF Monkey, yes, I can still be a sysop. I guess, right? There's a way to be it, and you wanted to be a system admin, Alexander. I use KickScript. What is KickScript? I've used a lot of automation tools in my life, but I don't know what KickScript is. Before we get into the topic, and I just want to mention this automation. Kubis, when you were doing your system administration work or whatever DevOps automation stuff you did you ever use auto IT?
I know the term or the name. I'm trying to remember what it does, but I didn't use it.
Auto IT is like a scripting framework, language, tool.
So it's like Rundeck.
It's basically you can hey Satya, hey Santos, hey, so there's different ways you can like automate things with auto IT. I think we need to do an episode once on auto IT.
Oh, okay.
It's like a fun way of doing things. It's very valuable because like a lot of my end user desktop automation was done with auto IT. So and like you can automate clicking, like you can automate moving a mouse to a specific position on screen and clicking stuff. So, yeah, it was fun.
Automating printers. But the question is, automating the printer, adding it is one thing, but did the printer actually work? Because the adding is normally the easy part.
It never worked. Okay, so let's get back to 2021. Let's not talk about setting up printers in VBScript. So 2021, 17 ways to run containers on AWS, and AWS App Runner is one of them. So what is AWS App Runner? There is a really nice explanation on our website, which I'm going to read verbatim because why not? AWS App Runner is an AWS service that provides fast, simple, and cost-effective way to deploy from source code or from container images your applications directly to a scalable and secure web application in the cloud. In essence, it's a really simple way to deploy a container-based application with all the bells and whistles. Whether your application is just a piece of code in a Git repository, or it is an actual built container image. And when I say bells and whistles, I mean having automatic deployments of changes, having load balancing, having automatic scaling that it will scale up and down as your as the load on your web application increases or decreases. It also has the ability to do metrics, right? So if you want to gather all the logs to like a CloudWatch log setup, or even just doing like metrics in CloudWatch, it's all integrated in that. One of the most complex things in my previous system administrator roles was always configuration and use of TLS certificates, right? Yes. So setting up SSL and TLS and all the fun stuff was always interesting, to say the least. And App Runner actually brings this in natively, so you can have a very simple way to introduce TLS to your applications. And yeah, so those are kind of some of the things that App Runner brings to you in this case, right? Well, last time, was it last time?
No, last time, yeah.
No, not the last time, but the time before last one. So 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, we talked about App Runner. We actually wanted to cover App Runner.
No,
sorry. We wanted to cover Copilot and App Runner in the same place. We wanted to cover it in a single episode, but a lot of discussions came back and forth. Yeah, that was the thing. And we decided, like, let's move App Runner to a separate show here. But today, let's talk about App Runner. Before we continue with App Runner, I'm going to have Kobus explain to us what Copilot is. Before we do that, Kanir. Oh, welcome, Kanir. Hi, back. Hi, we haven't seen you in a while. It's like Elastic Beanstalk for containerized deployments. It's a bit more than that. As you don't actually see anything in the behind. Like, you don't have to worry about clusters, about instances. It's just we'll get to that. Actually, we'll show things, right? So we can deduce things together.
And just to confuse things a little bit more, is like you can use Elastic Beanstalk to run containers as well.
Absolutely.
It's on that long list.
Exactly. It's on the 17 things you can run containers with. So, excellent. Kobus, then before we get into App Runner, let's tell us what Copilot is and how does it, well, we'll figure out how does it differ from App Runner, but tell us what Copilot is also.
So Copilot is effectively a command line utility that makes it easy for you to launch a set of services with containers. So the base construct you use is a service, and you can have multiple services in the same, let's say, microservice architecture or the thing that you're setting up, and you interface with it through the command line, and it then generates the necessary CloudFormation templates and then deploys that for you. So what we did last time is we got a basic hello world up and running, but because of a naming typo I made when I ran it, I actually spun up 2 different services and adds the routing to you for the different services in your load balancer. So it handles all of that for you just in a nice, easy way. And the config is stored in a YAML file locally, one per service. So what you can do is you can go into the actual YAML files and just edit them directly if you want to. And then you just say, well, go deploy this for me again quickly. And then it does it. And then the most important thing is, like, when it does the CloudFormation template, when it actually runs it, it shows you the time that it's been running with completion percentage potentially. So that running time, I remember, was the highlight of the show for you.
Yeah, yeah. I like the fact that, well, App Runner in essence uses not App Runner, sorry, Copilot uses ECS in the background, right?
Yes.
And it's actually very visible that it is ECS because it just
Yeah.
there's ECS. It creates a cluster
New
for you
cluster.
and
Yeah.
all the stuff for you. So Copilot is just a neat way to deploy your applications to ECS. App Runner, however, is different. I'm not sure is it using ECS in the background or anything. I'm sure something like that exists, but you don't see it, right? You have nothing to think about that, to worry about that. It's basically just, here's my container image, run it, please. So that's kind of a neat way to do that. So I like that fact about App Runner. And to be honest, it's very simple to get started with. So yeah. Shall we try it something out, right?
Yes. Let's take it.
So let me actually find something. If I can find a great image. Yes, there we go. All right. So let me actually share my screen. Share. Boom.
Doom,
Is
doom,
this one?
doom.
Boom. Okay. Let me make this nicer. Spread it
Yes,
out,
here we
spread
go.
it
This will be my first time seeing this. I specifically avoided looking at it because I want to see it and poke holes.
Yeah. Okay, so the way this works is that you basically go to create service, right? You click this find App Runner in your services, and it's currently supported in these regions, right? So it's not supported all over the place. These are the currently supported regions. So in Europe, only Ireland supports App Runner, but as a lot of other services, the things will just be expanding as we go along. So to do this, click on the Create Service button. There's a couple of options here. The things we see here is that we see that we have types of repositories. Now this is the thing I told you, Kobus, when there's two different ways to do it. There's the way you could just give it an image, or you can give it some source code, right? You can give it basically something on a Git repo. I don't have this set up right now, and I don't know how it works. So we may need to figure that out later. So let's go with container registry. So let's actually go ahead and just use a public container image. Makes it super simple, and have it all being deployed. So this is one of the hello App Runner images you can find on the Amazon ECR public gallery. So basically, you just take this little link here.
Pause quick though. Go back. We need to tell more people about this. For those not aware, we actually have got ECR now has got a public component to it where you can share your images in a public gallery and search for them. And also a lot of the big vendors have their official images on here as well. So similar to Docker Hub, you can just pull directly from here. However, the quotas that you actually get for non-authenticated pulls are actually quite a lot larger.
Yeah. So very similar to Docker Hub and the way it functions. So basically just a public repository of images. So if you want to find the App Runner thing, you just App Runner. You should be able to find the image. There you go. So it's pretty straightforward. You see that it comes from our account, so from our developer advocacy, verified and all that stuff. So just click on it and you have this thing here. So all right. It's x86-64, so if you want to run this on a ARM container, you cannot do it so straightforward. But yeah, so going back to this thing here, and we do just paste the link here. That's it. So if you're using a specific your own ECR, you can just browse for images you have. But in this case, we don't have an image on our ECR account. We're going to be using the public one. The deployment trigger is going to be manual here. Why do you think it's going to be manual, Kobus?
Because you shouldn't be using latest to deploy your container Docker.
Fair point. No, I get that. But here's a problem. So it's manual.
Does it trigger, or how does it trigger?
So yeah, this is a public image, right? It's available on the internet. And there's a bunch of different tags. I think there's dev and latest. That's it, right? If you had an option to do automatic and you don't have intentionally, anytime somebody updates a public app image, your application will start to deploy. I don't think that's good. So this is just a really quick way to have something that's publicly available run really fast. And of course, all the deployments are going to be manual. if a change happens on there.
Mm.
Cool. Click next. All right, let's give this service a name. Let's call it DevBeard App Runner. Okay. I guess your standard containers configurations, number of vCPUs in the RAM. I think this should be more than enough. I'll leave port 8080 because I think that's okay. You can do a start command. I guess this really depends on your container configuration if you need.
Yeah, if you want to override it.
Yeah. So in our case, we just don't need to do anything about this. Autoscaling. So this is something that comes with by default. So by default, it has a default configuration on autoscaling, which automatically scales your containers based on how many requests does it have. So it's a very nice way to do it. I think this is great for most stuff, but you can also do create some custom configurations, which I have never seen how they look. So let's see. They are limited to requests. Interesting. I thought you could do something like.
Remember, the service is focused on single containers, super simple. So
yeah, fair point. So you can, if you think that your application can handle more than, 100 requests per instance, I think simultaneous requests per instance, and you can kind of toggle the minimum size and the maximum size of your deployments. So health checks. This is pretty cool. Defining what is the health check interval. Now,
let's optimize it.
Shall we?
Yes.
Timeout.
Otherwise it takes long. So there was a very nice post by Nathan Pack. Let me quickly get you that for you, Nathan. Pack. Was it Nathan? Sorry, give me a sec for that. Basically, what he did is he did a nice blog post explaining how you can speed up your container deployments for ECS. And the reason is, if we go down to the health checks, how this works is that there's a timeout of 5 seconds. Then the interval is 10 seconds, and then the unhealthy threshold is 5. So healthy threshold of 1 is not. Yeah, it's not too bad. What it means is that when the container comes up, it does a health check after 10 seconds and says, yes, you're healthy. That's one check. And then obviously it'll flag it as healthy. Now, the inverse, however, that 5 is actually quite high, because what that means is that if a container stops responding, 10 seconds, no response, count 1. Another 10 seconds, 2, 3, 4, until you hit 5, which means it's 50 seconds before it'll pick up that the container is. So I think let's make that smaller. Make it 2.
So we can, 2 unhealthy. Now, this can be also a double-edged sword. If your application has some transient issues, it may be marked as unhealthy. But so be careful. Let's reduce the interval to 5. Timeout must be greater. So let's do timeout 2.
Yeah.
So
very aggressive timings. Yeah.
Very aggressive timings. So these are the things you would need to tweak and configure to make whatever you do a bit better, right? So depending on your application again. All right, security. These are, maybe some if you want to do some specific instance roles. This is a great option if you wanna, if you wish to have your service interact with some other AWS service and authenticate against it. So it's kind of a great way to do it. And of course, setting up a KMS key for encrypting the data. And last but not least, tags. So let's do
tags and tags.
Environment. It's gonna be dev, because why not? Coolio. Next. And that's it. Basically, it kind of shows you there's nothing to it. If I click create and deploy, it's gonna start deploying things. As you can see here, there is a default domain that it gets to you. You can do custom domains. Now, when I looked at this a month ago, custom domains were more of a, here are things for you to do. And I would say that that's a way to do it as well. If I do add domain, for example, rob12.net, and click save, it's just gonna, it's going to provisioning. Okay, so the way it works is basically it gives you the things you need to create inside of your domain register, even though it's Route 53. So it's a bit manual in that sense. But we can see here that stuff is being created. The service is in progress. You can also have access to the logs directly. I like this thing.
That's useful.
Like you have all of your application and deployment logs, so straight from here. Configuration, I think this is just showing you the configuration that we set up, and we can change things ultimately. And of course some metrics, but we don't have any metrics right now. At least it's empty in this case. So yeah. And my understanding that this is specifically made for single container applications, right? So this is not for complex multi-container microservice architectures, etc. As of now.
But I mean, that's something to. I always have this conversation, especially when I'm doing talks with and discussions with startups, is that don't go for microservice architecture on day one, or even in the first year, unless you know exactly what you're building, and you also know you've done it before, and you know the size of your audience that will require you to have it, and the complexity of your app.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just takes too long. A monolith is fine. Most people are more than happy with just having a single monolith app, and it just simplifies things.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Zarane, hi, welcome. Welcome to the stream.
Yes.
Coolio. So refresh. It takes a while to do, but I actually have a thing already provisioned from a few weeks back when we wanted to actually demonstrate this. It's the Nyan demo. So if I click on this, we should have Nyancat, right? And there's even music on it. But let me, because I cannot hear you from that. Yeah, exactly. So this thing exists, and this thing is running in a container on App Runner, right? So
yes,
we can have a look at how does it actually look like. So logs are, again, we see our event logs. I think the event logs here are just basically when we deploy this application. This is the same thing, and there's application logs as well. So application logs should be your general application logs, like your Apache or Nginx logs or whatever this runs. Is this? I think this is running Nginx. I don't know. But yeah, so you can see that this thing does work. But also, I created a custom domain. So if we go to like custom domains, you will see that I've created a domain nyan.rob12.net. And the way you do this, it doesn't work. Upstream error, disconnect, reset before headers. Okay. All right. I don't know why that doesn't work, but yeah, I may have removed things. I may have removed these things from my Route 53 configuration.
Yeah.
So yes, but in essence, the way you get the association instructions. You get things like this to kind of add to your domain DNS provider, and just basically use it like that. But for my use case, it doesn't work for some reason. So logs, standard logs, configuration. It's very similar to the one we did last time. The difference is the port is 80 in this case, and there's no tags. And metrics, metrics. That's me. But there's been 10 requests. Really? 10 requests?
Oh wow. So, okay. Actually,
let me paste the link here if you want to check out the Nyancat application and give it some metrics, right? So
do I still have it? JMeter.
Oh, you want to test out my application? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I actually have JMeter here somewhere, so that could actually be quite a bit of fun.
While you're doing that, I'm going to answer some questions here from Garuna M6. Does it allow to change the environment variables in the container using the user interface itself? My understanding is that there's no way to define environment variables. Oh, there is. Sorry. You can do environment variables. Where is it? Here. So these key value pairs you can actually address from within the container itself, right? So that is quite possible to do. So yeah, this is the way you do it. During creation, you also have the option to set these things up. So it is part of it's blank, right? You will basically see nothing here, but click add environment variable, and they're accessible like any container you use to access the environment variable. And max pane life. To AWS architects. Can you ask an RDS question? Yes, you can. Yes, you may. Please ask us an RDS question. Maybe we can answer. We're not RDS experts per se, but try us. While Kobus is looking for JMeter.
I found JMeter. It's just I need to install some Xcode component now. So let's see if this works out for us today or not. Okay. Dependencies are always fun.
Maybe you can test the metrics. See, I have a bunch of requests here. Somebody has tried to access the website. That's at least good. But yeah.
Let
By
us
the way,
see.
this application
Well,
is
this
made by somebody else, so it's not some. I haven't made this. It's a public repo. I
Yeah.
think it's this thing is sitting inside of my ECR repository, but it is not something that I've built per se. So yeah.
So a question from Zoran, which is over here, which is the can this App Runner prefer to have again monolithic solution? Just opinion. I think if I understand the correct question is that the monolith, this is actually made for monoliths. It's not multi-container setup, so
Yeah.
it's a single container, and that's it at the moment, at least.
Exactly. So there is no way for you to have multiple containers. So technically, you can have a monolith within this. Now, Zorana, just make sure that to understand that this is you have limited instance sizes on this, right? So, sorry, limited container sizes. So if you have a chunky monolith that can only run on a single instance, you have to take into account that you have only maximum 2 virtual CPUs and the maximum of 4 gigabytes of RAM. If your monolith can spread across multiple containers, then you will be able to just basically scale up your entire setup here easily. Okay.
Alrighty then. It's
Are you?
It's launching.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna actually flip here to logs to see if like a deployment will start or like a scaling event will occur. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
quickly find it's been a while, but okay, yeah, continue.
So yeah, I'm gonna keep on answering questions from the chat. So by the way, feel free to let us know in the chat what anything regarding containers, AWS. We'd like to hear about how you are running containers, and if you have questions, let us know as well. To all the new people joining the stream, welcome. This is the Wednesday edition of DevBeardOps, where this gentleman here and myself are talking about AWS, the cloud, automation, and technical stuff in general. Today's topic is AWS App Runner, a very simple yet fun way to run containers or single container applications on top of AWS. One of the 17 ways to do it. Yeah. Okay, then let me get back into some questions here. Max
Darko, can you
Yes.
quickly can you paste me that
URL
just on internal Slack quickly, because I can't copy and paste from the comments here.
No.
Dun, dun, dun. We're gonna have some fun now.
Slacker. Okay. So let's answer the question from Max Payne Life. Question not related to containers. So yeah, so Max Payne, I restored an RDS Postgres database from a snapshot tonight. Once the database came up, I found it was slow for the first 2 hours. Do you know what's the cause of that? Is there some sort of reindexing happening? I'm not an expert on databases. Would a database reindex if you restore it?
No, so the snapshot itself, if it's just a standard snapshot, is
Yeah.
an instance level snapshot. So one of the things it could be, I mean, for that size of database instance, which is, you said it's I think you said somewhere earlier,
M5
something quite
4x large.
For
M5
example.
4x
So
large.
our database works is that when it cold starts, the data is on disk and not in memory, so it hasn't actually filled up the cache. So if it's got a lot of data, it'll take a time to actually fill up the cache. So that might be the cause of it being slow, and because you're obviously reading directly from the disk itself. That's what I would suspect is the most likely cause, unless it's something like compacting or indexing. Or the indexing shouldn't kick off with the database engine start. That's normally done when data is created or tables are created or in the indexes. So definitely go take a look at the cache hit rates, because that'll be an indication of what's going on there.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, so it's because it doesn't copy the cache; it just copies the disk. So if you had anything stored on cache in RAM, there we go. So maybe we answer your questions. I don't know.
Hopefully.
Cool. And there's Alexander Gamerman says, after a restart, it could also be a regeneration of the query execution plans. That's the thing. But it is doing a snapshot, so there's no technically. I think there's not a technical restart, right? I'm not sure, but yeah. All right. Are you hammering the application covers, by the way?
I'm about to, so I'm going to hit with 500 threads quickly. Where's the play button? Let's see what happens.
I'm going to leave it in the metrics here while we still go on a couple of questions here. Let me just scroll down. So there's a few other comments here. ZB_C. So would this be good for web servers? Absolutely, right? So if you have a web application that's running within a container or can run in multiple containers, this is just a great way to have that. When I say great, I mean simple. You don't have to think about provisioning, load balancers, auto scaling, metrics, all of these little bells and whistles that exist along with a proper container-based deployment. You can just give it your container-based application and just have it run, right? And queue servers would work better on Fargate? I don't think so. I think it's the same in this case.
It depends. It depends on the architecture. Because I mean, the reason you put queues in place generally is that you want to either pass messages between different services, and you've got multiple things listening on a queue.
I think he's talking about actually queue servers, maybe something like RabbitMQ or ActiveMQ running on a container, right? Is that the case?
Yeah, but I mean, let's clarify that first, because I mean, to be dead honest, I wouldn't put RabbitMQ or like ActiveMQ, anything like that, in a container and run it myself. I just go straight up with SQS because it's fully managed in your paper message. So it's like at a previous job.
If you can do that, again.
No. So at a previous place I worked, we had a RabbitMQ cluster for all of the environments. It cost us, I think, $180 a month. And then we switched to SQS because it's basically the same protocol. And we took our bill down to $5, if I remember correctly.
It's like, wow, that's great. Wow.
Laravel. Yeah,
but Laravel is for PHP, right? No.
Yes. So if you've got Laravel, let me think. Then I would actually recommend go play with probably Lightsail. You can put Laravel in here in a container if you want to, but I'd almost want to say Lightsail is slightly more suited to that because it's easier to add an additional database through the console there and then connect it to your application. We actually even have a guide on that. Give me a second.
Okay, so
lots of Googling.
Kobus Googles that for ZB_C. So there's a question from Niazi3X. Is Fargate or App Runner priced differently? I would say so, right? So
yes.
When it comes to pricing on App Runner, I think it's a bit more straightforward. You pay basically your container prices, right? And that's it. And there's additional some costs on top, like for example, automatic deployments. You need to pay $1 per month per application that has automatic deployments enabled. And you also, if you're building your images with App Runner, so if you're just giving it your code in a GitHub repository and it's building the image, there's a cost of 0.005 cents per build minute. So yeah. And on top, all of the data transfer costs, and I'm not even getting into that. But there are different prices. Fargate is basically just a thing that you run. So Fargate by itself may be cheaper if you look at just the simple Fargate pricing, but App Runner has a lot of bells and whistles on top, CloudWatch integration, and a whole lot of different things. So that might be just worth the use in this case.
Cool. Sorry, I'm looking at things here on the side.
Kobus is trying to test stuff, right?
I'm trying to. I'm trying to break stuff.
You're trying to break stuff. Am I still not getting things, or is this me just not refreshing?
No. But I think it's my.
Oh, I got it. I got 20,000 requests. Did I get a new thing?
You should have, because when I look at the results here, I got a whole bunch of either 404s or server too busy.
Or you killed my application.
No.
Right.
Well, that's what you're here for. There we go. There's
I see my service metrics. I had a lot of things here to access. There's been a lot of 4xx as well. Request latency.
Yeah, so I got a lot of 404s. Yeah.
Interesting. I only had one active instance all the time. Why didn't my scaling kick in?
Maybe because I'm not hitting it hard enough.
So and it's weird. You cannot change scaling after the fact, right? So you cannot make a change here. That's it. So that's kind of not good.
Let's quickly see this. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. I'm hitting you again to see if the scaling works.
Okay.
So, I might have added some more.
Deployment logs. Does nothing happen? Interesting. Why doesn't the scaling occur in this case?
Yeah, because I'm now going up to 50,000 concurrent users, ramping up every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So this should go fairly quickly.
Trying to destroy my running service, Cobus.
Yeah, let's see what it breaks or how it breaks. No, I love these kind of tests, like playing with it. Like I previously used this when we did the Let's Code episode with Ruby on Rails app, and now unless the app itself specifically, we did it on purpose, running with Nginx or anything like that to actually speed it up. Just using the Bricks dev web server, which is notoriously slow because guess what? It's for development locally. And then I use that.
And you're also destroying your local connection right now because you are breaking up.
Am I breaking up? Okay, I saw you break up as well. Let me check who's doing what.
I think because I assume your connection is coming from your laptop, the test and all that stuff. So it's just kind of
you're actually quite. You know what is actually saturating my local LAN? It seems.
There you go. There you go. Kobe's with machine guns. So Kanir, by the way, for those of you who do not know, there is an open source project out there called Bees with Machine Guns. It's a load testing utility that basically deploys in a bunch of containers, and it just has a bunch of bees with machine guns that keep on hitting your service with all the stuff. So pretty cool.
Okay. So I just killed the test. I'm looking.
Okay.
I'm looking at my network here. Sorry, I was gobbling up like between 4 and 5 megabits of my connection.
There you go. Wow.
Yeah.
Alexander Gamerman, he's asking, what tool are you using to load test? Does AWS have load test tools?
We probably have some internal load test tools. I would be surprised if we didn't. What I'm currently using is Apache JMeter. So let me just put that in the chat. I'll get you a link for it.
And Apache JMeter is currently being run from Cobus's workstation or at home, so it's not like a software as a service. It's just running from his workstation. But yeah,
there we go. That one.
And officially, there is no service on AWS which you can use as like a load testing service. You can use different open source tools like Bees with machine guns and JMeter as well to run on top of AWS and then test your services out with that. So that is also a way to do it. All right. So
let's have a look.
So we have actually. Let me come back to. I want to see if my DevBeard app runner is working. It seems to be deployed. So this thing is successfully deployed. If I click on this link here, we should have "and we are live" thing. So this is the app runner application, the image basically from the public repository. This image running on top of App Runner, and you can kind of share stuff on Twitter directly and a bunch of things. And this was great because I was seeing everybody sharing this little thing on Twitter as soon as App Runner was launched. So pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how does it work when you connect a software repo to it?
Okay, so that's something we need to figure out.
Okay. I'm assuming you need a Docker file and that's it.
Exactly. So there's another way to do this. I mentioned you can point it to a image like we've done right now. We put it to a public image. It can be a private image. It doesn't really matter. But there's also another way. You can point it to a GitHub repository, a Git repository with your source code. However, I don't know how that works. I have not tried it out. So I would like to see how that really works right now. So I am looking for.
I have got an example for you. You should be able to just. Yeah, I'm going to send it quickly to you on Slack. Just for those who are not aware, we actually use Slack internally at AWS.
Okay, so this is Copilot.
Cool. Yeah, so this is the one that I did for Copilot. That I literally took this image that you just used the 9cat one to run, and I forked the repo because I wanted to play around with it a bit as well.
Okay.
So what we have here is we could put it in the chat as well. So, I mean, this is public on GitHub. It's not something special. There we go. So it's basically just a fork. Of that one, and it's got a Docker file, which I think is going to be where the magic happens.
Okay. So then let's actually go back to sharing my screen here and share it. Is that the correct window? Okay, always make sure you're sharing the correct window. And I'm going to create a new service, right? So instead of doing a container registry, I'm going to do source code registry. So,
Yes.
but I want to figure out how does this work, right? What is the point behind this, and how does that actually function? There is a documentation here how to do code-based runtimes, right? So instead of doing like an image-based service, which is just shoving a container image into into a running environment, we need to talk about the code-based services. And I think it's a bit more complex, but ultimately gives you some more flexibility, right? So, according to this documentation, you can use AWS App Runner to create and manage services based on two fundamentally different types of service source code and source image, right? Okay, that's fine. Source code repository providers. It supports only GitHub. Okay, so we can only use GitHub in this case. To deploy from GitHub, you need to have a connection with GitHub. If your repo is private, you must provide the connection details. All right. Cool. Then let me go ahead, and I want to fork this thing here. I think I'm logged in. I'm not logged in. Boo. Give me a second.
I mean, you should just be able to grab it as is because it's public.
Can I add new? I need to authenticate with GitHub.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So it is. I have to actually do authentication with GitHub. So give me just a second to do all of the fun things out there when it comes to logging into a system. And that's GitHub.
If you listen carefully, you could actually figure out his password because of the distance the click is from the mic.
Exactly. Yes. And if somebody would actually do that, that's just crazy.
You joke. There was a study on the wearables for step tracking.
Yeah.
And because if it's not combined with your watch, often you would wear it on the other arm, which tends to be watch on the left if you're right-handed,
Right.
and then fitness track on the right.
Yeah.
And they were able to use that to determine what people's pins are at the ATMs with something like a 90% accuracy for the first attempt.
Wow.
Because obviously they know the movement of that Y and X axis thing, and they know what the keypad size is. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Actually, I have this repo already cloned. So Nyancat. Let me actually open it up here. So it is. I have it already cloned, but not from you, but from the original Davey.
You are a clone.
Nyancat. I'm a clone. So let me connect my GitHub thing. Authorized connector to GitHub. All right. So is that it? Connection name? Oh, okay. AWS App Runner.
You have to name things.
GitHub
Can't just have a connection or the connection.
GitHub allows App Runner to deploy from your source code. I need to create an app. What?
Yeah, some of the authors changed. I remember I got a notification recently as well that I had to go do something with my API key, change it. I remember doing it late at night, so I can't remember what I did. I hope it works.
Okay, so welcome to setting up GitHub with Cobus and Darko. So okay, and I guess you're not seeing any of this because it's on a different window, but good.
No, we're seeing the connected to GitHub. Yeah,
okay,
there's a message.
Is there something I need to do? App Runner, branch.
Just be careful now. It's going to show all of your things. Ooh.
It's fine. None of these are mine, so it's okay. It's a public. It's an open source repository, so it's fine. Okay, so this. And I'm going to leave it in manual right now because I think we need to do more things. It's not just the fact of like, oh, let's do this, right? Oh, no, you can do configuration, all the things. Ooh. Is this running Python or Node.js? That's the question.
JS.
It's JS. Okay, it's running JS.
JavaScript. Well, it's actually just
JavaScript.
base.
Yeah.
Yeah, but more importantly,
is this just the index HTML?
Yeah, but it's using Nginx. So let's see how this works. I'm quite curious because this would then imply that it's going to take your app and inject it into a container with a specific code runtime, or try and compile it, or at least put an interpreter. Well, it's Node.js and Python, so just the interpreter in place.
See, this may not work, right? This may not work for this case. Because ultimately I have nothing here, right? It's not an app. It's just Nginx runtime in this case.
I mean, given that it's a container, to be dead honest, I would have kind of expected this to ask for a Docker file, and then it just does the Docker file build for you. So everything is really abstract.
Because it has like managed runtimes, right? So it has like provides managed runtimes for programming environments. So it provides like a Python and a Node.js. You actually develop things for App Runner. So it is different than what we expected. So as Cobus, I've expected this is going to be, hey, here's my repository, here's my Docker file, right? This is my Docker file, which is just using Nginx. Wabam, please run this. But apparently it's a bit different. So it takes more things to do.
It's not that much more because, I mean, basically you would go to code pipeline, set up a pipeline with a source checkout from GitHub, kick off a build job that pushes to ECR. I think that's like 3 commands.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's Docker build, Docker tag, and Docker push.
Yeah.
And you need to log in, yeah.
I'm wondering is like, there's no way to like you can specify your App Runner YAML file, but again, you need a specific
it's probably that runtime stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so, this is interesting.
Okay. Is there a quick way for us to do this? I have no Python application that I can have a web app with.
I mean, I'm sure we can find one.
But it will take us a long time. We have like 10 minutes left, a bit more for this. Challenge
accepted.
Challenge accepted. Okay, but developing for App Runner, it's a different approach here, right? So
okay. I think even if we get an app, it might not just work because you might need to add like a config file or some kind of SDK or something to it. Who knows?
Kanir, obligatory hated question. How about Windows containers? Fargate doesn't support them, so I'm sure this doesn't. Yeah, I think this is purely Linux right now. So it's and my understanding is this, and again, this is not something that's obvious, but my understanding this is somehow Fargate in the backend that you don't even see.
Yep.
So I don't expect Windows support.
Yeah. Also, just quickly to clarify for those not familiar, Windows containers actually requires a Windows host to run those containers. They're different from Docker containers, which tend to be Linux based.
Yeah.
And also, just remember, Fargate under the hood uses our open source VM called Firecracker. So it's a micro VM that runs on Linux, which means you can't just tell Windows to run on a Linux machine. It doesn't work that way. Although being a micro VM, I'll have to get again. You might be able to run a Windows VM on Firecracker. I actually have no idea.
By the way, I will actually share a different stream for all the folks here if they want to get more information. And I think this is also where Kobus and I can figure out how the source code works. But we literally have never seen it before, so this is us first time trying to see if we can figure it out like just straight from the console like this. So it's an exercise. But if you want to actually see the experts, the pros, do things with App Runner, it's our colleagues from Containers from the Couch. They've done a live show in May, like a month ago, on the same exact topic, and they covered it really good. So if you want to see 3 more experienced folks talk about App Runner, check it out there as well.
And then to answer the very important question over here, which is, yes, as I am, yes, sir.
yes, he is. He's South African. Don't you hear the accent? Come on. Another comment from Dan MBA. You need to use App Runner YAML to point to a Docker file. Dan, do you have an example of that? I've not seen that. If you have an example of like an App Runner YAML file, that would be great. We can just add that file into the Docker repository, and if that works, amazing. Alexander Gimmerman, I guess this would work for like an Express/Flask app really well. Yeah, right. If you have something like that could work. You basically don't even have to worry about the web runtime in the back. It will you just give it some code, and I think there's a lot more to it, to be honest, like looking at runtimes and how does this all work. I think there's a lot more things here than meets the eye. So I would definitely have to go through all of this, and to be honest, I would definitely have to see an example of a repository that's basically doing this. So yeah, this is something I definitely need to figure out at one point. And I understand that you can like do multiple services with this thing. I'm not sure, but yeah. All right, coolio. So Make sure to check out the link. The link I've shared here, if you want to get more information from the gentlemen who actually to the folks who are actually doing this as part of their job. So a lot of great information there as well, right? Okay, so Dan MBA. I just looked it up. App Runner YAML supports only the Node and Python runtimes. For Docker, you are stuck with the container repo. Exactly. So currently, the way you can do this is you have to have built a container-based service, and using the managed runtimes, right? So if you want something custom, like your own container image, you would definitely have to build your container image separately and then have it hosted on an ECR repository or a public ECR or whatever, and use that one as well. So in my example here, in like this DevBeard App Runner, this is using a public source, right? So it's using this thing. If I go to the other one, the Nyan demo, it's actually using a private one from my own repository. So that's the whole difference here as well. One of the things I want to check out here.
What does the scale look like? Sorry, I still want to see that.
For the Nyancat?
Yeah. The other one.
The metrics? Oh, the other one?
Yeah, remember the other one, the one we actually hit.
Oh, is the Nyancat?
Yeah, you see this one.
There was a bunch of like 29,000 requests, right? That was you.
Yes, I did something there.
But see, instances. Okay, here we go. We had 18 instances at one point. See, this is during
that would explain it, yeah.
Yeah, so at one point, as you can see here, we managed to jump from just a single active instance, to 18 active instances during this thing. And what's wonderful about it, 11:35, 11:37. In 2 minutes, we scaled from 1 to 18 to 1, which is wonderful. Actually, to 0. To 0, even better. Yeah. So I think that's quite good. And again, it costs you less money if you do things like this, right? It just kind of it's more cost efficient, especially if you have nobody accessing this application. So if I have a look here at like a 3-day metric, and refresh. Do I need to refresh this thing, or how does one zoom out? I can't.
Right click on it. Go graph.
Nope.
Escape. In stream.
Refresh. No. Refresh the entire page, please.
Wait. There was a little blue thingy at the bottom of the X. Never mind. We're fine now.
Okay. Yeah. So, like for example, if we look at the number of active instances here, most of the time it's 0, right? So there's nothing running on it. As soon as you start using it, this is where you get some instances. So because it doesn't cost you anything, this is basically serverless, right? So if you would approach it such a way.
Hold on. When I looked at the pricing, there was a difference between provisioning and running costs.
So there is a cost. Let me actually try to find this thing. App Runner pricing. There's something we need to check. App Runner pricing. All right. So how pricing works. For a provisioned container instances, when your application deploy, you pay for the memory provision in each container instance, right? Keeping the container instance memory provision when you and the provisioning is just 1, right? So that's the minimum, I think, is 1. When you define the, what is it called? Where is it here? Minimum size is 1. And then that should be the provisioned instance. Active instances are the ones which are actually running. So if we go back to the metrics and we scroll all the way down, we see here active instances. How many active instances are running right now? So this would be like a standby cost for just nothing. So that's pretty cool. And this is only when something is running. So in essence, it's not free, of course, but it's definitely vastly cheaper than just having an active thing running in the back. So I like this. I like the speediness of it. Okay, are you looking into pricing, Kobus?
Yeah, I'm looking at the pricing now. Although I need to do a comma.
Yeah. Okay, so let me close this off. Just to kind of recap what we looked at today. We looked at AWS App Runner. One of the 17 ways to run your containers on top of AWS. This is primarily focused for single container applications. So you pass it on a repository, and you pass it on an image a container image in a public or a private repository as well. And then it just deploys all of that with all the bells and whistles, with auto scaling, with load balancing, with TLS certificates, with custom domain support, with CloudWatch metrics, and all the fun things you need to have a container-based application. It can, of course, run on multiple containers, multiple different instances, but it is still a single image application, right? And this is just a great way to get your applications quickly up and running. We've seen how it scales when Cobus tried to, jump my instances, break it, and it scaled from 0 to 18 active instances running, which is amazing, in just less than 2 minutes. So if you're looking to run your container-based application, a single container-based application, on top of AWS, check out App Runner. It's currently limited to a few regions. It's not available in all regions out there, but give it a shot. I think it's especially if you have complex webs of container orchestration in the back, and you don't want to deal with that for a simple thing, this might be the solution.
Yeah.
Coolio.
No, definitely. I mean, that was actually quite a lot of fun. I liked it.
Yeah. And we'll try to figure out how this code part works. So if we figure out, make sure to join us next week at the same time where we show you how it actually works. And for next week, we have nothing planned for next week, but make sure to join us. We're going to be, do we?
Possibly. I may possibly be chatting to someone for a certain product that I love that went to a GA 1.0 version release recently.
Okay,
so if you know me, you'll know what that is. So I'm in contact with them. I am chatting.
Okay.
We might have a guest.
Okay, so next week we may have a guest. We may not, but make sure to join us next week at the same place, at the same time. So Wednesday, 1 p.m. Central European time, or your local equivalent time. I don't know. But join us here at twitch.tv/AWS. If you want the recordings of previous things we did up here, not Cobus, not Darko is the name of the YouTube channel, or any of the Twitch channels you are watching this on. So there's a bunch of different Twitch channels that this is being streamed to. If you want to reach out to us directly, there are Twitter handles you can find us on, and also we're available on LinkedIn, MySpace, Friendster, Freenode. I don't know.
GeoCities.
GeoCities. Ask Jeeves. Like us. You can find us all over the place. And thank you very much for joining us, Cobus. Thank you for being a friend. And see you all next week.
Cool.
Next week. Bye bye.
Cheers.